Thanks, folks, for
Hello.
joining. Second installation of the AI series with Educational Technology Collaborative. Just a quick reminder for housekeeping items: keep your cameras off, keep your mics muted. Please post all your questions in the chat, and we will have open conversation at the end. With that, I will turn it over to our moderators, Matt Wilk and Kevin Yankee.
Hi, everybody. Welcome. Thanks, George, so much. And thanks in advance right off the bat, to Beth, Scott, Rachel, and Gabe for helping us out on this, which is going to be a very exciting and information-packed session there. I'm Matt Wilk, institutional board member and associate director at Rutgers University, classroom presentation areas.
And I'm Kevin Yankee. I'm the current treasurer for ETC and also co-lead the leadership interest group with Matt. George, thanks for putting this together. This is a really interesting take on how the interest groups normally run. It's a little bit different than we've done them in the past. But I think this will be a great conversation. Looks like we've got some excellent content. So I think we could kick off. I believe we were starting with Beth.
Yes, thank you. Hello, everyone. I am Beth Gordon, interim CIO and VP at Pace University. And along with my colleagues, Gabe and George, who are on this call, have been at the heart of the AI conversation at Pace. And I'm glad to extend this conversation with this group today. Just as a bit of background, Pace is a comprehensive multi-campus university in New York City and Westchester with about 13,000 students, and known for its mission of serving first-generation students and being very career-oriented. And I mention this to show that Pace is really committed to student success both during and beyond college, and that means making our students AI literate. So with that, I'm going to focus my part of the panel on student usage and faculty engagement, and I have two slides. Thank you. I have current state, this slide, and future state, next slide. So we have spent the past year, as I'm sure many of you have, researching and learning about generative AI, and have put plans in place, I should say, for supporting our students and faculty, and of course, staff too. While I was preparing my thoughts for today, I read an article this week from Inside Higher Ed called Anxiety, Anticipation, and Preparation for AI in Higher Education. And this really spoke to me because I feel like we've gone through all of these stages, and I'm sure you have too. The anxiety stage was very strong last January, with lots of worry among the faculty about who is doing the writing in the classes, who is taking the exams. Will this be the end of college teaching as we know it? How will we manage AI? How will we stop it? What are the rules? And then we kind of moved a little bit more into some feelings of optimism and anticipation, maybe cautiously. Students wondering, how could AI help me with my courses? And faculty wondering, how can this help me build my courses? Or help me with my research or grading. So on this slide, and I know there's some animation here, so bear with me. Yes, thank you. Thank you for that. This slide really highlights what I would think of as the preparation part of the stage, and where we have been most recently in getting our community, if you don't mind going back to the, thank you so much. The previous slide highlights the preparation that we have put into place to prepare our community for the changes that are happening. Gabe is going to talk in more detail about the chatbot and how we've been ramping up usage in some exciting ways to augment our frontline support. But I will highlight that middle section there. Our website, designed by Gabe and his team, at this AI website, is serving as an anchor for our community to show our vision and approach and guidelines, which will become a foundation for a future policy on AI. We also have on this slide a reference to LinkedIn Learning. The website plus LinkedIn plus trainings have given us a lot of support for our students and faculty who are trying to learn about the tools and learn how to navigate them. And we've encouraged faculty to curate video playlist from LinkedIn. There are hundreds of videos there on all different types of aspects of AI that can easily be integrated into coursework to make it easier for faculty and to teach our students. The library staff have been real leaders in this movement as they early on in spring prepared reference guides for both students and faculty on how to navigate AI. And for students, they have suggested that students can use AI to help gather and brainstorm ideas, to help with editing of writing, to help learn about new topics, to develop lit reviews, to build visual presentations. Faculty can use AI for all the above, plus to help come up with scenarios and examples for teaching, and use AI text as discussion topics for critique and analysis. We've also leaned on our computer science faculty who have been teaching and researching and getting grants on AI for years, not just this past year when the rest of the world was paying attention to this topic. So all of that has combined to help us prepare our students. We've also done a lot of training sessions with our faculty center and IT and the library, and we've done this in a variety of settings. One we held recently had over 100 faculty participate. It was a faculty panel, and faculty talked very candidly about what they tried and what worked and what didn't work. And we're certainly planning on doing more of that in the coming year. Thank you for the time update. We need to keep doing all of this to prepare our students for careers. As the last bullet on this slide notes, that there are jobs out there. People are looking for employees with AI skills, and those are hard to come by. And so we're doing all of this to prepare our students for those jobs. Next slide, please. So in terms of future, thank you. In terms of future state, we're looking to deepen our usage, deepen all the preparation from the previous slide, and do more. And we're looking to visionaries in this area. And one such visionary is certainly Sal Khan. Some of you may have seen his TED Talk back in April. He's the founder of Khan Academy, and he led a really interesting TED Talk called How AI Could Save, Not Destroy Education. And in that, he talked about how artificial intelligence could spark the greatest positive transformation of education has ever seen. And what he foresees is that AI has the potential to have a personal tutor for every student and a teaching assistant for every teacher. That I want to work at that university. That sounds amazing. And I think we can get there. One university that seems to be leading some of this work is the University of Florida. I don't know if any of you are familiar with their work or if anyone here is from University of Florida, but they are certainly doing it. They are infusing AI across the curriculum, and they are preparing students and faculty for this next digital revolution. So I encourage you to check out their work and their website, and certainly can serve as a model for all of us. So in terms of student usage and faculty engagement, all universities will need to think very strategically about their investment in AI in the coming year and years. And this is going to be challenging given everyone's limited budgets and resources and staffing. And in some cases, declining enrollment. I mean, I know universities are facing that too. But with smart decisions, I believe that universities can start making selective investments, and that AI can augment staffing levels and support and personalize instruction and support faculty in their work, developing course materials, and importantly, providing timely feedback to students as we are in grading season, and that help would certainly be welcome. So with that, I think I am about running out of time, and there's of course a lot more to say. So I am going to turn this over to Scott, who is going to talk about process enhancements.
Hello, everyone. My name is Scott Jananga. I'm the Associate Vice Chancellor for IT and CIO here at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. And I'm just excited to be here and chat with you about artificial intelligence and the power to transform. I'm going to take a little bit of a different angle. I'm going to talk about the strategic opportunities and how you can apply it operationally. But let me walk you through what I've got. To me, next slide, please. To me, this really starts with the human factor. When you look at the progress of technology over the last many decades and where we are as humans, we can see a place in time and we're there now and perhaps beyond it, where our ability to adapt to the emerging capabilities of technology is simply outpacing our means to leverage it in more effective ways. And that problem is going to become a greater challenge over time. Next slide, please. There's lots of studies that talk about the opportunities, to leverage these emerging technologies to help us manage the growing complexities of the world that we live in. What's interesting is we used to think that technology was going to make our lives easier, but in reality, it's become more complex. What the opportunities are is how do we leverage these emerging capabilities to soften our operational workloads so that we have time to do more things that are focused more on delivering value, consultation, those types of things where we can help the institution achieve the things that it seeks. Next slide, please. As you look at AI, what I think people think that AI just kind of came out of nowhere, but it has its roots, in Alan Turing from the 1940s. And it's been in the domain of the research labs for a long time, amongst many institutions. What's allowed these emerging technologies to come and be leveraged more broadly is cloud scale, and the ability to bring those technologies back. Previous slide, please. And bring these technologies broadly to the market and democratize access. And so generative AI is probably the most obvious example of some of those technologies. But when you think about those, there's many ways that you can apply them within the higher education space. When we think about why are we here and the things that we do, it's about teaching and learning and student experiences and research, but it's also about how do we optimize the work that we do and gain insights from the activities that are happening across our institutions. Next slide, please. If you think about the journey that IT organizations have been on since the very beginning, we've been on this journey that has started out as looking at technology as just creating digital forms of what was prior just analog. So things like documents and movies and videos and music and those types of things, to a path where we took the same concept and applied it to process, the digitalization of applications and using those objects. What we have not yet done at scale in a significant way is use those technologies to transform what we do and how we do it in ways that we have never done before. And that's the great opportunity as we think about the application of AI and the current unmet potential of where we are today with IT and data capabilities. Next slide, please. What that really means is the value of AI in this space is entirely dependent upon the value of the data that it draws from. As we seek to leverage data in more strategic ways, we can't treat it the way that historically we've had as just a byproduct of technology, just as a tactical, discrete object that we just manage as a liability. We have to transform the management of that into something that's far more strategic. And that's a foundation for this work. Next slide, please. As we think about how we think about data in more strategic ways in the application of AI, we can also think about changing the operational model. Most IT organizations still are anchored in this idea of break fix. We've applied some proactive capabilities over the years, knowing things that can happen. What we haven't done yet is applied them broadly in terms of predicting outcomes, and then more specifically, using these technologies to preemptively avoid or manage those things. If we do these things, what it does for us is it reduces the operational workloads. It provides a more consistent experience for people that consume technologies. It frees up the talent that we have to deliver more value and extend those capabilities, allows us to develop personalized experiences for people that consume those technologies. Next slide, please. But to get there, we have to think more intentionally about innovation as a core competency of IT. It can't be something that we do on the side, can't be something that we've seen as less important than the operational delivery of those technologies. And so those capabilities have to be built into our work. There has to be a way to explore and prototype and elevate and deliver those capabilities so that there's a continuous means to deliver more value and elevate the work that we do. Next slide, please. And so as you do that, you can start building, these environments that allow people to explore some of these technologies. There's a number of universities that are in the space right now where they're simply providing some of these capabilities and inviting campus to explore how they can leverage these technologies in support of the work they do. So they can also think about how are these transformational in their various domains of work. Next slide, please. And then building upon that is turning these into portfolios amongst themselves. So the services that you deliver to campus that are a combination of enterprise level services that are focused on key areas of AI technologies, sandboxed environments that allow people to experiment with new capabilities, but also where you can provide consultation and support. So you can help people explore what some of those opportunities are. Next slide, please. If we think of this as a journey, then really what this is, it's a maturity model to get from a place where most of IT is driven by humans to where much of IT is enabled by artificial intelligence. It's very clear, that how we think about data is a key foundation of what that looks like. And of course, leveraging technologies like AI and adjacent capabilities is part of that journey. Know that I'm very excited about what lays before all of us and look forward to seeing what other universities do in this space as well. Next slide, please. So thank you so very much.
Thank you. And I believe I'm headed up next. Is that
Yes.
right? Okay, great. If you could give me my next slide there, I'll say hello. My name is Rachel Gach. I am from Northwestern University, which is an R1 Big Ten university just north of Chicago. I'm in an embedded unit. So thank you, Scott and Beth, for the big picture. And I'm going to zoom down in now to my role, which is that of instructional designer and LMS support staff within a teaching and learning technologies unit in Northwestern IT. And so I want to cast us back briefly to fall 2022. And I imagine these two conditions at Northwestern are very similar at your institutions. As mentioned previously, we had a very large split at our institution between people who were using AI deeply and effectively in their research, and then everyone else who maybe didn't really think about AI a whole lot. And then we also had some really important lessons learned from 2020 that has really guided and informed our response to another incredibly disruptive condition towards teaching, learning, and research. So next slide, please. And if you could give me 4 more tabs so that we get all the data here visible. I've listed out here a variety of activities that then took place across our institution. They are not in order because they were all concurrent and interweaving. Things from overall institutional governance, brand new student organizations that were grassroots created by students, specific decisions around where information would live institutionally, both institutional and school generated programming and faculty development, some of it specifically around preparing for this fall quarter. Along the way, decisions that had to be made, especially on my team, regarding AI detection tool usage, and larger at IT about what would be the data governance policy that the institution should follow around generative AI. So a huge host of activities, conversations, and policy decisions made at our institution. Next slide, please. And so these two themes really are popping out, and I think past some of the immediate flush have really become a touchstone, certainly for my work as an instructional designer. Thank you. And one more tab on this slide as well. Looking at these literacies of what we, our students and our faculty and our staff need, and then transparency. How will we model transparency? What are our duties? What are the duties of our students, staff, and faculty towards ethical and equitable use of generative AI? So these are some things that now I want to dive into 2 specific examples of. So next slide, please. And then one more. So specifically on faculty engagement, we found in 2020 that, of course, faculty really are responding to great examples from their colleagues. And so we had some video series and other email campaigns that we used in 2020 and beyond to help adjust to remote teaching and the return to campus. And we've emulated that again with a new AI in the Classroom video series that is just wrapping up right now. Next slide, please. This is a 6 video series, about 2.5, 3-minute videos each, with a variety of our faculty from across disciplines at our institution that are just providing a whole range of both expert IT knowledge, in the case of Kate Compton, who's from our engineering department, or excuse me, engineering school, to people who are not AI experts, but are exploring its use in their teaching and research. So this is one example of how we're looking specifically at ongoing faculty engagement and building those literacy components. Next slide, please. I want to dive into an example of how we have a chatbot and how generative AI is becoming part of the future of that chatbot. Next slide, please. So briefly, the NU Canvas chatbot is a chatbot that lives inside our Canvas, which is our LMS at Northwestern. It is not new. It's been around since 2019, and I've got some details here for those of you that want to get into the weeds on it a little bit, but it connects to our ticketing system, and it knows a lot about our institution. Next slide, please. Of course, you need a team to do this, and really the chatbot does not exist without our lead developer, Patricia Goldwig. And I wanted to point out this in terms of staffing for what it takes to run really great chatbots and really robust systems of service and support. Our two previous team members, Jonathan and Aaron, were part of the founding of the chatbot. Since then, Bea, Dan, and I assist Patricia by reviewing transcripts, identifying areas that need improvement, writing the samples, the responses, connecting, getting the information on websites so that the chatbot can work smoothly. Recently, we've been lucky enough to have Yvette from our team join us to do transcript reviewing because, as I'll mention later, usage has gone up. Next slide, please. So what does this generative AI component look like? We've specifically added one area in our chatbot that will use or does use Azure OpenAI. Right now, we're currently using GPT 3.5. It is active only under a very specific search scenario. It doesn't happen every time somebody talks to our chatbot. And we also have limited the range of web pages that the generative AI component pulls information from. So as you can see here, someone can ask a question, and with our new generative AI component, they may get an exact answer or a summary of information from some verified web pages. Next slide, please. Now, I want to talk about how do we see this transparency and literacy then in practice. If you could give me 2 more clicks on this. So this is what a user will see linked in with the information that they're given. You'll notice in the green here, we've structured our response so that we believe users should verify information when engaging with generative AI. This is a literacy skill we especially want our students to be doing, and the biggest users of our chatbot are students. So the more that we can model that critical analysis interaction with generative AI, we want to do so. So this is why our response in our chatbot says, here is the link, and we'd like you to check it out in the future for more details. We also have decided that we think users should know when they are interacting with our generative AI component. And therefore, we have this line here that says the snippet above produced using generative AI. So these are 2 examples of how those guiding principles I mentioned earlier are informing the exact words that users are seeing when interacting with our chatbot. Next slide. Again, we also are trying to increase transparency and literacy through regular communications, explainer articles, email campaigns. We've done this before with the chatbot, and we will continue to do so for the future. And next slide, please. Now, this I want to talk about, I have just one more slide here to get through really, is not what we did, but what the existence of ChatGPT did to how users interact with our bots. So next slide. So what we found was that people speak more to the bot now. Before, if they asked a question and the bot couldn't understand it right away, they would depart. They maybe wouldn't try to elicit the information that was there. Users are more likely now to know that they are in a conversation and they need to give clarification or perhaps choose between various examples. So people stick around longer in the conversations. And then we also have continued to see, we're seeing growing use, and that has only continued. That, as you can see, even within just the first 3 quarters of this past year, we've had already a 61% increase over the previous year. So it just keeps growing. Oh, I apologize. One more slide, my last one here. So really, this is what we're seeing is our students especially have increased conversational literacy with how to get the best out of a chatbot. But of course, alongside that are going to come increased conversational expectations from those students about all of their engagements with a bot. Even if it doesn't have generative AI, they're increasingly thinking that generative AI is there. And so this is a really interesting interaction that is certainly something we had nothing to do with. It happened to us because of the existence of things like ChatGPT out in the world, and it affected the way that students interacted with our bot. And so I just want to thank my excellent chatbot team, because without all of them, none of this happens. And feel free to reach out if you have any specific questions around the details of the chatbot, and we can get you connected with people who can give you more details. And thank you so much for today.
Thank you for that talk, Rachel. That was great. So if you go to the next slide. Hi. So I'm Gabe Terizzi. I work with Beth at Pace University. I am the director of web and mobile services, and Beth tasked me with leading up our ITS AI working group, which was formed earlier last summer. We could see that we clearly had to get on top of this as an IT organization. Our faculty and students are going to be asking us questions about it, and we really needed to come up with some answers, as I'm sure everyone on this call has had to do. And I think that we've come to a pretty good place. We're pretty happy about where we are right now, but of course, there's lots of room for growth in the future. I included this image on the slide, the 2 sigma problem in air quotes, because if you've seen any AI talk in the past year, you've probably seen this. And I think it was really the first sort of great visual that I saw that represented the kind of power that AI could have to transform a bunch of different situations. This is specific to the educational experience that students could experience if they were to have a one-on-one tutorial, as opposed to just the conventional 1 to 30 class experience. So this can obviously be applied in many of our other areas that we're working in particular administrative processes, in the way that we offer support to our students to try to increase student success and just general positive outcomes. As you can see, the McKinsey study says that this automation could take up to 70% of our work across a bunch of different occupations between now and 2030, which sounds scary. And I know that we all probably felt a little scared when we first started playing with Midjourney a year ago. I know I come to web design through graphic design. So when I first saw Midjourney, I was like, uh-oh, this is a problem. And when I thought about the way that worked for graphics and how you could apply that to all sorts of other business processes, obviously it was kind of scary. And I think that what we've learned over this year working with AI tools, doing our own internal studies, is that the truth is that we have an opportunity here to use a tool that actually supercharges our ability to deliver great results to students and faculty, other staff members, as opposed to us really being in a situation where it's going to take our jobs. That's at least not the case right now. Obviously, we're all learning and growing as this thing moves along, but in general, our feeling is pretty good that we can use these tools to take what is a classically resource constraints situation and turn it to our advantage, because I'm sure everyone on this call doesn't have enough people to provide the level of service that they want to their students. So AI is just a perfect gift for us in that particular situation. Next slide. So this is an example of our chatbot which we're using. We partnered with an external vendor called Ivy. So this is an example of a few of the chats that have come through. The key to note here, and something that Rachel pointed out, is that it really takes a huge amount of collective community effort to get these things to function the way that they are supposed to, because you can turn it loose on all of your web pages. You can put in specific answers, but unless someone is auditing this stuff basically constantly, you will get inaccurate information. So the key here is that, as you can see, these are pretty simple interactions, but you can see that these are potential phone calls. These are potential tickets that could have ended up in our system. And as we all know, I don't know if this is good or bad, but students and incoming students, don't really necessarily want to interact with people directly. They would probably rather get their information directly from a bot. So if we can make this system work and give complete and full answers to things that would otherwise generate tickets, it gives our staff a huge leg up in terms of the amount of people that they can service. The actual experience that students have will be, definitely more positive if they can get these answers quickly and not necessarily have to find someone in an office and email them and go back and forth. So we all know how that works. So we manage this a little bit differently than it sounds like Northwestern does. We actually have functional units, the financial aid office, the registrar, student accounts, ITS, they all have different brains. The way that this system is set up, it has different brains for each of the chatbots. They can talk to each other, but what that does is sort of silo the information into these areas that are functional experts. So there's a lot of stuff that comes out every year. Financial aid is constantly a moving target. So it's really important that they have control over that silo of information because no one else at the university is an expert in it. And the bot isn't going to figure it out on its own. So one of the interesting things that we are going to be rolling out in the next few months is we are going to actually do an integration with Banner and using SSO, allow people to ask questions like, I have a hold on my account. Why do I have a hold on my account? And they'll be actually able to query our database and get that information. So that's pretty exciting. They can ask about grades. They can ask about advisors. This is something that we think is going to really make a huge difference to our students and make them just be able to service themselves much more effectively. So next slide, please. This has a couple tabs on it. One more tab, I think. Yep. So this is another backend. This is just the reporting tools that come with the Ivy chatbot that we use. As you can see, a bunch of people are asking about their holds. So we knew that this was something we had to address for this to be an effective tool for our student body. You can see down in the left-hand corner, there's a breakdown of the retrieval responses versus generative responses versus no confidence responses, which you really are trying to eliminate. And 800 messages sent to the bot over a 30-day trend. Again, that's 800 tickets that didn't necessarily need to get generated. I don't know, even if it's 50% of those were effective communications, then obviously that is going to help our staff be able to service the people who do need to make a phone call and do need to have a person actually there to hold their hand through these steps. It's going to make them much more able to do that and service those people in a much better way. So you can go to the next slide. So this is our recommendations from our ITSA AI working group. The one I wanted to highlight is augmentation, not replacement, because that's really the key that we felt that from what we looked at, all the tools that we saw, that the AI could do maybe 75% of the job, but a human really had to be there in 25% of the cases to resolve the issue, to find the key that the person was looking for. The tools that we looked, most of them were the AI can deliver you a list of fixes to let's say a PDF that isn't accessible, but that a human has to say, okay, those changes are acceptable. So, and at least at this stage of the development of generative AI, I think our jobs are all safe for now. We'll see what 2024 brings. But I'll leave you with this thought, which is that, and this is I'm cribbing from another AI talk that I saw, which was that a human and AI hybrid is way more effective than either human or an AI on its own. So that I think is really the future of our workforce, and we have a huge opportunity as educators and people who work in higher ed to apply this particularly to our resource constraints, environments. So I think that I'm very bullish on it, and I hope that you are too. I'm sure we all are if we're on this call. And so thanks for listening today. I think we wanted to turn this over to get some questions and conversations going.
Yeah, yes, thanks everyone. Gabe for that, and Rachel and Scott and Beth. That's been a lot of information given to us in a short period of time, but it's totally well put out there and give a lot of thought on there. So we were going to start having a conversation about the faculty adoption challenges. So how do we want to, anyone have some questions out here to discuss?
Yeah, I think we were going to have that sort of an open conversation. Maybe
Right.
Rachel or Gabe, if anyone wants to kick off some of their experiences with faculty challenges.
Well, I'll just start by saying that I'm sure a lot of faculty across all of our institutions have come and said, how can I make sure that a student isn't using ChatGPT to write this paper? And I can only say that our approach at PACE is that we have said we cannot. And so you should not expect us to, which has been, embraced pretty well at this point. The truth is that from what I've been able to tell, the tools that claim to be able to detect the use of generative AI can be fooled, can be wrong. And if you are, as an organization, are trying to tell someone that they are getting an F in the class because they use generative AI in a paper, and then you can't prove that, then it's obviously a big problem. So we've decided to say we need to embrace this. We need to look at new ways of teaching and learning, and for the most part, it's been pretty successful. I don't know, Rachel, what's been your experience?
Yeah, I think we've had a similar technology-focused conversation around what AI detection tools are really not part of the conversation, that we've been continuously urging faculty to take a different approach to this question in their classes. I think the thing that long-term, I'm going to harken back to the sort of literacy component, is that really working to shift the culture around this from, now it's another technology thing that I have to learn, and I didn't want to do this, I didn't ask for this, and shifting it into this is a really important place for my field of interest and the things that I care about in my research and writing and all of whatever field our instructor is in, and getting them to understand that connection to generative AI and the future that their students are going to have in a world inundated with it. It's a culture shift, of which there have been one every 6 months since 2019, and so there's the faculty burnout, and then just this longer connection of shifting people, as you said, off of a detection, plagiarism focused mindset and into this is our future. How are we bringing the things that are most important about my field into whatever conversation, so that our students graduate literate in all of the various conundrums they're going to face, or at least able to deal with this unknown future ahead of us.
Some thoughts I can add to that is I work with faculty through committees and of course maybe with the deans and others. And some of the conversations I've had with them are sort of twofold. One is the recognition that the expectations of students, especially because of the experiences the pandemic taught us all, that they want a university that is far more immersed in the digital world that they already live in than perhaps the universities are currently designed to deliver. And that's causing some rethinking about, well, how do we lean more in towards that idea? Working with some faculty on some of these committees, what I hear are things like, how does this shape the future of pedagogy? It's not just about whether it's leveraged in the classroom or not, but actually it's part of the delivery itself, and how are we really intentional about that? And of course, some of the discussions have been about working with some of the younger faculty who are willing to explore some of those opportunities and showcase what they are. To help, to promote opportunities amongst other faculty to drive adoptions amongst some of those things. At UWM, there's a lot of faculty exploring and experimenting, and a lot of students that are doing the same. I think the great opportunity that's in front of all of us is to explore some things that can be done broadly, and find ways that we as IT and data professionals can help support that work as those things come, and of course paying attention to what's happening elsewhere. at other institutions and within organizations like this.
Looks like we have a couple of comments in the chat that we've touched on everything here. Willie posted a question here. With academic integrity often being concerned, how do we make sure students who are late adopters of AI and advanced technologies don't fall behind? Anyone wants to field that one?
We're
I'll only
looking.
start by.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I was only going to start by saying just that it is something that we're very concerned with. I think George may, I don't know if he has the figure, but he was teaching a course this semester, and we all had assumed that that every student was an expert on AI. That was our working assumption, because these kids know more about technology than we ever will, and so that was really our starting assumption. And it turned out that it was some incredibly small percentage. It was like 20% of the kids had even heard about it. So it's definitely something we need to focus on going forward.
Yeah. I want to add to what Gabe said, and another computer science faculty member who teaches at Pace found a similar situation when he polled his students at the beginning of the semester. And so what he vowed to do all semester, and he did, is, he allocated 10 to 15 minutes of every class to a little mini lesson about some type of AI. And, he was learning right along with them. But by spending the time himself on trying the different tools and experimenting with prompts and reviewing for hallucinations and inaccuracies, he was bringing that right along to his students and vice versa. And they were really learning together. And I think that kind of joint learning between our faculty and students, making that part of as many classes as possible, I think that's really what we need to commit to at this point.
I can add a little bit to what Gabe said in our CIS course. It was funny, and I mentioned this to Beth and Gabe, that if there's an uptick in ChatGPT papers in Pace University, it's probably my fault, because I just wanted to see what the students thought as far as ethical dilemmas that related ChatGPT and writing papers. So I came up with this little project, semester-long project, where they did research on ChatGPT and the pros, the cons, the ethical concerns, all these things. And in the first couple of weeks, it was truly amazing for me to see how many of the students were not aware of ChatGPT. I just assumed at this point that everybody was using ChatGPT that's under the age of 25, right? So that was surprising to me as well. And I'm looking forward to reading their papers as they come in starting tomorrow.
As I think about these things, and if David were also here, I think he would say the same thing. I think it starts with a negotiation between the individual instructor and the students in their class about what expectations they have, for that class, and calling that out at the beginning. So there's absolute clarity. But I think the other is, at a certain point, is we determine that these kinds of competencies are key to how students are successful in coursework. It's probably reasonable to assume that we'll see courses that are specifically designed about teaching students and others about how to leverage these technologies in support of it. The only thing I would caution us on is some of the things that I talked about in the beginning, which is these technologies are going to continue to evolve. So if anybody watched the Dev Day presentation by OpenAI, several weeks ago, one of the comments that Sam Altman made at the end of that was, a year from now when we present this again, we're going to talk about all these things that we're doing today as rather quaint. And I think that's probably a fair assessment. So it's important that we understand how to leverage the technology as it is, but also pay attention to how it's evolving and recognize, the pace of that evolution is something that is going to be a barrier to broad adoption, and we just need to find what's in between.
I
I'll
appreciate it.
ask.
So actually my director, Vicky Geddes, just posted some information here. I wanted to chip into the whole sort of, do students use Chat GPT? And we had done some informal polling during some summer orientations and found that it was closer to only about a quarter of students were familiar and using. And that has really significantly changed. And we had expected that over the last fall, they're going to use it a lot more. They're going to see their fellow students. They're going to learn from each other about using it, and they are going to have some instructors who will explicitly assign use of it. And so we were really expecting to see some changes. And thank you, Vicky, for sharing some data that we've gotten recently. And I think that there's some tension there with what is a potential institutional response. So say, for example, if your institution decides to provide a licensed access to, say, GPT-4 in the name of increasing access equitably across your student population, there are a lot of faculty that are going to have some real concerns about what that means for the policies in their class, the uses that they deem are acceptable or not, and whether or not students will follow that, given a sense that an institutional license implies some sort of blanket permission. And so I think we're going to start to see more of these tensions between how do we support the students through institutional responses that support adoption and access to AI. And then there's going to be some tension as well on when does that at times conflict with individual classes or individual skill set building within our institution. And as somebody else in the comments mentioned that too, about is there a tension or a fear that students will become too dependent on AI and less independent in their skilled research. I think I'm really excited to see, we really need to work on those employer relationships and benchmark now and then 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. We can hypothesize as much as we like about how AI is going to impact our students' writing and critical thinking skills. We can all make guesses about what might happen over the next, say, 5 years to our students' skill sets. But we really need, in my opinion, to be building those relationships with our alumni, with our employers, to really understand what happens when our AI-informed students step into those offices and classrooms and wherever they are in the future. And I'm hoping that we will have a better sense that we can ease anxieties and really place it in reality over the coming years. But to the question of, is there a fear? Absolutely. There are many people who are very concerned about that.
I just want to make a quick comment. Gabe, you had a mic drop moment where you said, human and AI working together is the ultimate solution. Just a quick, and I'm not sure anybody really has answers for this, but for leadership that's on this call, how do we console or calm the staff who are freaking out about job loss because of the growth of AI? Are we seeing that already? I know there's chatter everywhere, but is there a growing concern in our areas about this, and what do we tell folks that are panicked about this?
I can take a shot at this one. I think the obvious answer is we always need our talent, right? There's regardless of where AI is or not, we need the talent of IT and data professionals to deliver the things that the campus needs. I think the question that we always ask ourselves is, where do we spend our time? If today so much of our work is driven by operational activities and workloads, and the introduction of AI at scale frees us from much of that, so that we can deliver more value, we can consult, with campus on how they can leverage these technologies to elevate their work and help connect our work closer to the mission. I think those are all exciting things. I know when I talk to campus leadership about AI, because there's a significant buzz here about those things in our next IT and data strategic plan, those are the things that we're talking about.
I'll just say, George, that not that I'm leadership, I'm not making any decisions for anyone other than my web services team, but I will say that I do believe that higher ed is a unique environment, as we all know. It is not like corporate America. There are not too many people, there's too few people. So I think that we're are uniquely positioned to really adopt this technology and use it effectively to help us do our jobs rather than look for it to replace jobs. That's my impression right now, and I hope that it stays that way. Obviously, we can't predict the future, but it does seem to me that we all know that our technology footprint has evolved over time in a very organic fashion, way more than I think corporate America would have done. You know, like we adopt technologies, they stick around for 20 years, way longer than they would in a profit-driven environment. So I do think that we as people have to spend a lot of time learning our institutions, learning the unique things about each of our institutions. And I think AI can help us to navigate that better. But I don't see how it could really just replace a whole unit within a university at this point.
I just want to chime in on this too. I agree with the hybrid intelligence model. But I do think our jobs will change significantly. I mean, I think that so in terms of will it replace some roles, I think yes, but then I think there will be new roles. So I think when there is that chatter, George, I think the best thing is to encourage IT folks to lean into this and to continue learning and to ramp up their own AI skills, because the jobs that we have currently will probably not look the same way in the next 3 to 5 to 10 years. And so I think that that's the best thing that IT staff could do to future-proof themselves is to dig into this, attend sessions like this even, try to use the tools once a day like our students are apparently, and just become more familiar and start to question, how could my role look different with a hybrid intelligence model?
I love it. So folks should sign up for ETC and continue taking the continuing ed courses that we provide and keep up with all the AI stuff that's happening. Love it. Amazing.
What an excellent plug there, George. Excellent. Subtle too.
Fantastic. Well, I think, George, we're probably coming close to time. There was one comment here from Mike Peterson. I think we touched on some of this a little bit, but if anyone wanted to follow up, here's the unpopular and scary question. How much longer will independent skilled research even be needed? Or is the skill we need to teach how to properly use the AI tools? So I think we touched on that a bit, but maybe if anyone wants to dive into that a little more.
I've thought about this a lot and talked with instructors about this a lot, and it's absolutely a really significant conversation. And I think literally, as we just said, I think that what it means to be an independent researcher will change. I think the literacies needed will change, including the literacies of what the boundaries are of AI usage, what are the interventions needed. So I think there will be an ongoing scaling and changing of some of our basic learning objectives at various institutions. I think where it does get trickier is some of those core reading, writing, analytical skills that I think we have to have really honest and difficult conversations sometimes about what that really will need to be. And that may at times feel almost Luddite. There may be times when we say, no, technology or AI does not have a place in this class or with this learning objective. And I think being able to understand where that line is going to be one of our biggest things that we need to get our handle on over the next short term, I'd say. But thank you for that question, because I'd say, yes, absolutely. That is something that is very important to the instructors that I work with.
I'll only add that our it's definitely a priority for us to include this in our curriculum university-wide. And I'm sure that a lot of people feel that way, but it is, I think, critical for our students that we're trying to educate, that when they graduate in 4 years, if they don't know how to use AI, they won't be able to get a job. So it's definitely going to become a bigger feature, I think, across higher ed. Beth pointed out University of Florida, it's worth checking out. They've really dove in with both feet in terms of sort of formatting their university in a completely AI direction. So that may be one way to go, and I'm sure we're all going to find our own path through this. But it's critical that we think now hard about changing the way our universities work to include this in every piece of education going forward.
All right.
George, I cut you.
No, that's okay. That's okay. Thank you so much, folks, for joining. Thank you so much to the panel, Rachel, Gabe, Scott, Beth. I'm just looking at the squares as you show up on my screen. Thank you so much for joining this session. This has been a wonderful session. Folks, join us for our next session in February. But until then, keep this conversation going on the listserv.
Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.